Greetings, good people. Welcome back to another edition of Control the Narrative. I'm Tonya McKENZIE, your chief controller, because I'm such a freaking control freak. Today, we are talking about the thing nobody warns you about when you start a business: the loneliness, the figure it outness of it all, the people who clap for you privately, right? But publicly they might not even show you love. Why that is, I don't know. We should probably get into it. My guest today built a sports media empire from Florida with no playbook, no safety net, no permission slip. Ontavius McCullough, I want you to remember that name. President of Varsity Sports Nation. And without further ado, let's get into it. What's up, kid?
What's up, Tonya? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I hate Florida, but I heard alligators just be walking around land all the time, and the humidity is terrible. I only heard that because my daughter just came back from Vero Beach with MLB. But
Vero
then I keep
Beach.
meeting like
Okay.
great people from Florida.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, we hustling down here. We're hustling down here. And beaches is already down the street. I live in Jacksonville. That's my home base. So Georgia is about an hour away. Beach is about 20 minutes away. Shopping right down the street. Great food. I'm a seafood guy. So being close to the water is very important, very vital for my humanity. So that's where we at. I'm loving life. I'm loving life.
It's good to love life, but I want you to tell me. Okay, I'm gonna jump into this really quick.
Sure, let's go. Let's
It
go.
it tell me about politics out there, and how does it impact anything that you are doing? I'm just curious about that because I've always been afraid of moving to Florida because we ain't
Sure,
hear nothing good about politics. Tell me about
sure.
that.
Our current governor is on the way out, right? So reconsider Florida. um, I want to say politics. No one likes to really talk about politics, especially here in Florida, because you can be really good friends, and soon as a political issue, you find out you have so many differences. Um, Social injustice. There's so many things that we go on and on. Um, that happens a lot here in Florida, unfortunately. So it's almost no one wants to talk about it until it affects you.
Okay.
I don't know if that's everywhere, but here in Florida, no one wants to talk about it until it knocks on your doorstep, per se. Education, we're struggling with teachers being compensated fairly. Since COVID, a lot of teachers have changed career paths because of politics. Doesn't seem like a lot of support for school systems. We have a lot of public schools that are closing down. You see the rise of charter and public and private schools on the rise here in Florida. So it's a lot of moving pieces. A lot of moving pieces.
Is there legislation or is there opportunities for businesses out there now? There's the societal stuff that we're
Sure.
like, ew, it's cringy, but are there legislation and opportunities that actually support businesses? How is it running a business in Florida?
I would say yes, and I think you saw that during COVID, right? Florida was still wide open, especially for the sports industry. I was fortunate and privileged enough to work with the NBA and the G League and ESPN during COVID, and we had the bubble here at Disney. So money was still flowing, athletics was still happening. That was a big money maker for the state of Florida, keeping the revenue going. And then for us, it's really, I want to say really easy, but it's more favorable opening up being an entrepreneur here in Florida. It's not There's not a lot of congestion. There's not a lot of people sharing the same lanes. Either you do something and you do it well, or you don't. And you don't survive, right? So I think it's fairly easy. I haven't had much resistance doing business here in Florida. In other people that I know as well, they're pretty much doing well. It's whatever you make it here in
I
Florida.
love to hear that. I love to hear that. But here's a stat that should make every entrepreneur in the
Sure.
room uncomfortable. And I want you to talk to me about it. 20% of small businesses fail in a year. By year 10, 65% are gone. Not because the idea they have is bad, but because it feels like the game is rigged towards people who already have access, already have capital, people who already have a seat at the table. Talk to me about that.
Number one, you can say those stats are true, um, but depending on how you look at it, you could be the victim of this, right? There's, creating a seat at a table. Sometimes you have to pull up your own chair and say, hey, I belong here. You have to have a mentality that, hey, I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere, right? But I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is you have to have a mission. Your business has to be tied to mission and serving. If you're not serving and tied to a mission, then yes, you are going to, fail, because how can you rally community support, right? There's a lot of dollars out there, grants, SBA loans. There's a lot of community partners that have marketing budgets to help local businesses if it's tied to the right mission. So I would suggest to any entrepreneur before you get started, what problem are you solving? You have to solve a problem. And there has to be a need, right, for your product or your service. If you're struggling with those two things, then yes, maybe you should, that's the difference between a hobby and a business, right? Um, it's unfortunate to hear that stat, after a year, you know, God knows, it hasn't been all sunshine and lemonade, right? Starting a business. But you have to believe first. If you believe first, and I think that speaks, you have to do this full time for people to take you seriously too. I found out too. If they find out that you're kind of like doing this on the side, you want someone to
Mm.
believe fully in your vision and your mission, but you're working this part time. That speaks a little bit like, hey, are you all in? I think you definitely, if you want to do it, be all in, Tanya. You have to be all in.
I agree with that. I want you to talk to me particularly about your business. And I love what you said about you have to have a mission. But with that in mind, the thing that makes it even harder is only 4% of US media is Black owned. 4%, hello, four, one, two, three, four, in an industry that runs on Black culture, Black athletes, Black stories. We consume it, we create it, we build it, we own it. But the numbers still are the numbers. So, talk to me about your business in particular and how it actually combats those statistics.
Well, it takes a community to get anywhere you want to go. You can't be an island. I did not get here on my own merit. There is nothing proprietary, if I be honest, to sports broadcasting, right? But we talked about this earlier time that relationships matter, right? That community, that village matters, right? How you treat people, how you make people feel, those things matter, right? So when you combine a village, a mission, a product, um, yes, it will work. Um, you can't be afraid to fail. And I think that is something that we have to work on, or hearing the word no. When you hear the word no, that shakes you up to your core. So it's not like we haven't tried, right? But hey, when you knock on a door and that door doesn't open, do you just stop knocking or do you go try another door, right? Just having that persistence, that will to, because my thing was any day could be my day, Tanya. Like, I just had that mentality of like, hey, today I'm gonna go out there and grind, and today could be my day. I can get one yes that could change the whole landscape of my business, right? So that's a very interesting stat that you shared. But it's going to take people like us to change that story, right? To say, hey, I'm going to be a trailblazer, if you will, and I'm gonna plow to this ground, right? And to be able to make way for the people that are coming behind me.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yes, yes, yes. So when somebody like Ontavius builds a
Mhm.
sports media network from scratch in Florida, 16 channels, if I'm not wrong,
Sure,
22
sure.
sports,
Hmm.
over 1 million subscribers, partnerships with ESPN, NBA, NBA G League, collegiate, bowl
Sure,
games, and
sure.
now a broadcast deal, okay, with UFLX, I
Hmm.
believe.
Yes.
You don't just clap, you study it. You don't just
Hmm.
clap, you study it. What are you teaching people as you are building? Because your actions are lessons. What are you teaching people?
Your name is all you have. Like at the end of the day, right? You can have all the skills, you can talk very well, you can wheel and deal, right? But like your name goes a lot further, right? So treating people right, being transparent with people, I think it's very important. If you can do it, do it. If you can't, say that you can't, right? I think you have to put all the cards on the table when you're dealing with people, so that they know what they're getting into, right? And people just want to be treated fairly. Yes, you're going to make money. You want to figure out how to make money, right? But give them a fair deal, make them feel that they're getting the best bang for their buck, right? I say under promise and over deliver. And I have taken that under promise, over deliver. Don't sell yourself short. You have to understand what your limitations are and your capabilities. And I think once you figure that out, then you can really put a plan of action together. I have a phenomenal support system. I have phenomenal crews that I go out and recruit internships. So it's not a one man band, right? We definitely have a revolving door. Um, People need to get reps. People want an opportunity. Someone gave me an opportunity, right? So for me, it's kind of like paying that for giving others an opportunity, right? So definitely, I want to teach them do things with integrity. Be yourself, like authentic self. Be yourself. Um, I think we're in a day of age now where people can see through masks. People can see through masks. Like we want realness. Like we don't want an avatar, right? We want to know like Ontavius the person, not the robot. Because sometimes you can just be hustling and grinding, and we know like the machine, but we don't know the person. I think
Mm.
sometimes we stop to be human. You know, Tanya, one thing that I missed and I wish I would have done in my first year, my second year in growing a business is celebrate small successes. I did not stop to look back and see what I had accomplished.
What's one thing you wish you would have paused to celebrate yourself and your business?
Landing a first deal,
Hmm. Tell me about that.
getting you're so anxious, so excited just to get that first client, right? But then once you land that client, then you're like on go. Because once you take success, right, it's like that just becomes like an enjoyment rush, and then you just keep wanting repeating that feeling over and over again. And I didn't stop to once I got to a certain part in growing the business, I forgot to stop and celebrate. Hey, Ontavius, you didn't quit. Hey, Ontavius, like, look at all the people that have been rooting for you. Look at all the people that have been placed in your life to help you get to where you are today. We're not in debt. I think, the worst thing you can do is look over the fence and see what else someone's doing in your lane and try to mirror that or copy that. When you do that, I think you lose sight and you lose focus on what's in front of you, right? Listen, Tonya, you said you're in LA. Listen, y'all do stuff on a whole different scale than what we do here in Florida.
We're so extra.
If I were to try to peek over the fence and try to imitate or duplicate what's going on in LA, I would drown.
See, this is the thing though, and let me know if I'm wrong. What you said is correct. LA is a place of, it's one big facade. Okay, maybe a lot of little facades. Because
Sure.
what you did say is very much true. Be true to yourself. Be true to who you are. Some of us really are extra. Some of us just be doing too much all the time. That's who we are.
Sure.
Some people are trying to do too much to put off the perception that they got it or they're about that life. And I think that's where it falls flat, is when they're looking over the fence to what you're saying and they see what someone else is doing and they try to do that, but that's not authentically them. That's not authentically their delivery, their service, who they are, what they're about, and they're trying to keep up with the Joneses. So I do want to say that, we talked about the stats earlier. A lot of the problems with some businesses is they're trying to be an emulation or a dupe of some other business instead of what authentically feels good to them, what really makes sense to who they are and their mission. And they fail. A lot of businesses do fail because they're overshooting at the wrong time. There's no strategy behind it. And trying to do too much for the gram instead of really scaling at a pace that makes sense, right? Or nah?
No, Ton, you said something. You said a keyword: strategy. You can't shoot from the hip creating a business. You cannot. You have to write this stuff down.
Why would I write it down when I can just spitball all the time?
So that used to be me, right? And I had a board of directors and I had to drive them crazy because everything was up here, right? And I say, hey, Ontavius, what do you need us to do? Or what's the vision? Or what's phase 2? What's phase 3? And I'm telling them, and it sounds great. But to put a plan in action, to put strategy behind a vision, you have to write it down, right? And then they would just say, hey, Ontavius, that sounds great. Can you write that down for me? And once I slowed down to put it on paper, then I was able to organize and to structure it and to put a plan in action together, like, okay, it's going to take this amount of money realistically to get this up and running in 6 months. How do I go get this money? Who do I need to talk to, right? But Tonya, people do want to help you. But if it's not clear of how they can help, I think that's the disconnect. Hey, I have a sports broadcasting business. Okay, well, how can I help? Yes, I have a sports broadcasting business. Like, that's where you get stuck at, but if you identify, hey, these are some of the needs, these are some opportunities, then I think you can be clear, and then you can invite people to come participate. Just like, this platform that you have, which is phenomenal, right? You're creating a space to share, right? If that mission, if that vision, it wasn't clear, you'll be doing podcasts by yourself, right? but this is inviting, right, to give other people's opportunity to share.
Yeah. And I started my podcast actually and my PR business because people particularly authors, didn't have a space to really talk about their story. Authors don't really be getting a lot of pub if they're not like a
Sure.
B-lister. Okay.
Sure.
So, but there's some incredible stories out there. And I was like, dude, these people have nowhere to share their stories because if they're not celebrities, no matter how impactful their story is, they don't have a space. So I
Sure.
started with authors. I started with people that just needed a place to voice what they had going on. And 10 years later, my PR firm is thriving. The podcast is thriving, and I've rebranded to Control the Narrative because at the end of the day, that's what we're all doing, controlling our narrative. And I want people to understand, I think, what you are doing and in what you're saying and how you're doing it is controlling your narrative, not Tony's narrative across the fence
Sure. Sure.
and how you're remaking that company. You are been doing this since 2010. And that's
2010.
16 years of building and
Yeah.
controlling your own narrative. And I think as you get more polished, you continue to take more and more control of it, meaning nobody else can write your story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nobody else. Most
So,
businesses don't even survive 5. And here you are. You know what I'm saying? Here you are.
but I say this. I say, I'm living in my dreams. I'm living in my dreams.
Talk to me about that.
To be able to go to sleep, and think about building an empire or building a business, right? You know, Varsity Sports Nation, like, what does that mean? You know, just how do we bring community together? What's the level of impact? And to be actually like living in my dreams, I feel like that's the best story that anyone can have. Not living in someone else's dream. Being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. I don't knock anybody who does a 9 to 5.
Being
I
an
don't knock.
entrepreneur is kind of ghetto. Like,
Listen, it's a hustle. Listen,
it's a
it's tough out here in
grind.
these streets. It's tough out here in these streets. There is no backup. Kind of like I don't have, a backup plan. Like this
You
is
eat what
it.
you kill. You eat what you kill.
Exactly. And having that mentality is exciting. That's a little thrilling to eat what you kill. Like, hey, I love track and field.
Mm.
That was my sport going. And reason why I love track and field is because what I put in, I was going to get out of that when I hit that line. I didn't have to rely on another teammate helping me cross the finish line per se. You know what I'm saying? It was me. Like my work ethic was going to show when that gun went off. Put
Yep.
me against everybody and I'll show you how hard I was working throughout the week, right? So, you know, that mentality has helped me to be who I am today. Did I fall short on those races? Sure, right? But knowing like I did my best, I had milestones along the way. I think that helped me with the success that I have. And again, I didn't get here by myself, Tonya. This industry is brutal. I've had a lot of people speak into my life, mentors. There was a long period of time where I just sat and just was a sponge. Sometimes you can be overzealous
Yep.
and be premature and, you going out there and doing things. But I sat for a while and worked with other companies. And I was learning on their clock.
Dang.
Right, building those relationships, being myself authentically, right? And when an opportunity came up in this space, I said, why not me? Someone came up to me and said, well, Ontavius, why not you?
Mm.
And I was like, me? It's
Why
like,
not?
yeah, Ontavius, why don't you do this? And I was like, you're right.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. And it's been history making ever since.
You've worked alongside ESPN, the NBA, G League, Collegiate Bowl games, but you didn't come up through those institutions. You built more of a parallel lane. So, how did you get those partnerships without the
That's,
traditional pedigree?
to this day, I can honestly say I've never applied. I
Mm.
never applied for NBA. I never applied for G League. I never applied for these bowl games. It was based off the relationships that I had established. It was based off of transparency. It was based off of my work ethic, knowing my lane and doing it well. I said this earlier, like your name carries weight. Like your name has currency, right? So when something needs to be done, someone needs help last minute, hey, I got a guy. I'll call him right now. And that's really what happened, especially like in the bubble. I was never forget, I was sitting on my couch watching TV. Someone calls me and says, hey, Ontavius, this is what's about to go down in the pandemic. Check your email. Someone spoke my name. I got an email. They say, hey, Ontavius, I need you to create a broadcasting team to help run the bubble. What? So you never had an interview, you don't know me from
Nothing.
campaign, and you want me to do this job blindly.
Talk about how good that feels when you know that your name has been uplifted, not just spoke on, but
Mhm.
uplifted in rooms where people are making decisions.
It's kind of like unreal, but there's no false humility or anything because I'm being me. There's no mask. Like what you see is what you get. Um, the same way, the same vibe that we have on your show, Tonya, is the same vibe that we're gonna have in person, right? You don't have to wonder or second guess about Ontavius where he stands, But I think just having a proven track record, you know, being honest with people, doing things with integrity, I think what has helped me get to where I am today is the integrity part, doing things under promise, over deliver. Like
Okay,
when
I'm
you
going to
under
tell you
promise,
something. I'm going to tell you something real quick. So we started the conversation talking about how you didn't take a moment to appreciate the small wins. And I just asked you how you felt about people uplifting your name. I wanted to hear you say something. That made me proud. I was overjoyed. I want you to celebrate the fact that people speak your name in rooms that you're not in. Like you should be
yeah,
celebrating that because you know how many people I talk shit about? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. But like thinking about
No,
it,
really. Yeah.
reflecting, it's like wow, like me, I first piqued the interest in middle school. That's how I found out about TV production. I was doing morning announcements from my middle school, and back then it was analog. This
Mm.
generation don't know anything about analog, VHS, none of that, right?
Dude, wait,
DVD,
hold on.
CDs.
Hold that thought. My son had to call the financial aid office at this university he's going to, and the busy signal came on, and that fool was like, "Mom, what's this?"
Don't know anything about that. That them 3 minutes after 9 o'clock. You don't know nothing about that, right?
So he's showing on nothing about no
Yeah,
analog.
yeah. So that's what piqued my interest, and I was self-taught. To be honest, I
Yeah.
didn't go through a traditional broadcasting school or anything like that. So everything was self-taught, and people just kept giving me opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And that's really how I honed in on my skills, right? But to sit here and like reflect and to hear like my name is in rooms, these contracts, different things that we're getting, these partnerships. Um, Hard work does pay off.
It does.
I
It
can't
does.
imagine, in me reflecting, I cannot imagine what my life would be like if I would have quit.
Mm.
I can't imagine what my life would be like. I,
Let's talk about
I would,
community real quick because you have this concept called the Boom Experience, right? And through the Boom
yes.
Sports Academy, you serve kids. I love kids, 5 through 15. Why was it important for your business model to include giving back and the youth, not an afterthought, but literally the foundation?
That that helped me be grounded, you know, serving the next generation. You know, we're living in we times have changed, right? We see the stats. It takes two incomes to just make it, not to thrive, just to make it, right? So you have these single moms, these single families. You have grandma, raising her grandkids, right? So it's like I want to be able to serve the community with Boom Sports Academy, you know, holding summer camps, holding after school tutoring, just all of that, and it took partnerships, parents didn't have to pay much, we were feeding them for free, partnering with, local food pantries and different things like that, but it took someone had to go out and make those connections. Someone had to go out and till that ground, if you will. And we were serving in a summer 500 kids in this local community every summer. And then we're doing things, throughout the year. That right there helps you understand what is the need in your community. Being able to serve your community, be able to talk to the parents, to be able to connect with the kids. They used to call me Coach O, Coach O, Coach O. But coaches wear so many hats. You are a coach. One minute you may have to be a big brother or sister. The next minute, you may have to be a therapist. The next, you may have to go take them to McDonald's to grab a meal because that's the only thing they have eaten all day, right? So I think someone did that for me. So I think that kind of helped shape who I am today because someone looked out after me. So I felt that it was part of my identity, to pay that forward.
Hmm. Love that. You recently landed a broadcast deal with UFLX. That's a major move for you. How did you how did you evaluate the opportunity at, and how do you decide on partnerships, collaborations, and deals now? Like, what makes you say yes versus what makes you walk away?
Know my limitations,
Okay.
right? Understanding, hey, what's the vision? What do you see the league doing, right? So hearing their mission, it has to align with ours, or there's just going to be this. It's really not all about money, right? Money needs to be made. I understand that, but you can get into a business deal where it's more of a headache. And then the money doesn't even equate to this. Like, hey, you can keep your money. Like the headache, I don't want to deal with this headache, right? But being able to see down the road where this is going to go, right? So you almost become you become business partners. You really do. So saying no is actually okay. Walking away from something is actually okay once you read about certain things because sometimes you can bite more than what you can chew, right?
Mhm.
A no right now doesn't mean that it can't be a yes down the road. Say right now that's not a good fit, or let's revisit this or whatnot. It's okay. Sometimes we chase the dollar and not the relationship. I because of my name and what I have worked so hard to build on integrity, I don't want to attach myself to a person or a business that would tarnish everything that I built. Because it takes one time. We get one shot at this, Tonya. We get one
Yeah.
shot at this. In this industry, we get one shot. And the same phone calls that, people speaking well of you could be another phone call. It's like, hey, Ontavius,
Don't be messing with
he,
him.
he ain't it, stay at
He
50.
ain't it.
He ain't it, he ain't him. It could be that one phone call also as well. So they could be wanting our services in our business. Well, on the other hand, I'm actually vetting them.
I
I'm
say
with
that
you.
all the time. Like who you attach yourself to matters, and your personal brand, your business brand doesn't always align with someone
Mhm.
else's, and it's okay to
Okay.
say that, to know that, and to make a decision not to deal with that. A lot of the crisis communications work that I've done is because people, professionals, have aligned with a brand that then went and did something terrible, or that then went and made a move that got everybody looking at them sideways. So now they're looking at you because you've decided to partner with them. Like,
Right. Right.
those things matter. So I think you expressing that, even in the sports and broadcasting atmosphere, it matters so much. But listen, as a sports parent of four student athletes, this
Yeah.
one is kind of
Yes.
personal to me. You
Mhm.
created a platform where students aren't just subject of the story. They're producing their own shows. They're behind the camera. Why? First of all, why how did you develop that model, and why is that model so important? And why do you think more people aren't doing it? So what is it? Tell the people exactly what it is, how you do it, and why you decided to do that.
So partnering up with other, high schools that have production classes, partnering with college institutions, like a Full Sail University that's very popular here in Orlando, Florida, where they have a revolving door. I think it's very instrumental to create some type of a bridge where people can come and just see, is this something I really want to do and pursue, right? But this industry is so close chest, right? It's hard to get reps in. It's hard to kind of see behind the scenes unless someone opens that door, right? So we can build some type of a program, some type of a bridge where you're able to kind of see, get a glimpse, put your hands on the camera, stand, work a camera for 3 hours for a football game, or jump on a mic, try to do commentary or build graphics. You have to, in this industry, you have to have reps. That's how you get better. You have to have reps. So this creating an opportunity where students or aspiring commentators, sideline reporters, producers, camera operators can have an opportunity just to see, it's like, hey, is this for me? And I think that's what happened to me. Someone gave me an opportunity and I've just been following it ever since. And this industry pays well. It does. If you do it right, it pays well. And I think I wanted to talk about this. We kind of skipped around this, but I think there's a level of discernment you have to have when these relationships. Tonya, like you didn't. I'm pretty sure you've been burnt before. Let's keep it 1,000. Right. We've all
Yes.
been burnt. We've all returned a favor, or we've all scratched somebody's back. We've kneeled down and let them step on our back to get up to, you know. I think those lessons also kind of shape our mentality also. So I want to ask you, along the way in your journey, how how has your discernment meter kind of, you can kind of sense now, I'm pretty sure, when someone is BSing you or someone's trying to play or get over on you. But what lessons have you kind of learned along the way with like discernment in this
I just let
industry?
my husband deal with it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh God.
No, here's the thing. One of the things we did talk about, and we might have to have a part two about this, but having mentorships, mentors, and trusted, even more experienced people around you, that matters, because there has been times where, even in the most astute situations, when you have a burning question in your mind, or you're not feeling secure about something, you should have trusted individuals around you that you can
Mm,
kind of lay it all out and help you process through if this is good or bad, or maybe your blind spots. No
sure.
matter how good we are in our jobs, running our businesses, we all have blind spots because we have our experiences sometimes leave us with blind spots. Oh, I didn't think to ask that. I don't know that they asking you a question while you trying to talk through it. And you're like, I didn't even ask that. I absolutely have no idea. Didn't even think about that. So it matters that you surround yourself with people that are astute in business and life, because sometimes you miss it, and you have to be honest with yourself about when you're feeling uh, uneasy about entering into certain situations, and then have people you trust to talk it through. Because I almost guarantee 90% of the time, if you're uneasy about something, it's either because you missed it or because they ain't about it. And you knew it, you just didn't know how to point it out. You can ask
I like
these
that.
questions, and it will lead to, I knew I shouldn't have been messing with you. Actually, this is not going to work for us right now. It really matters that you have trusted individuals in your life that you can run things by. That's mostly it. Because you try to stay positive, especially when you're working in an industry that you love, but there's some negativity that's floating around in the background, and you don't want to get caught up in that. So most of my discernment is listening to my intuition, because we've been doing this long enough,
Right.
and having trusted individuals to help you identify your blind spots and what you're missing in order to make um, a concerted effort to make a good decision.
Wow, wow, wow. So, how do you pick your circle?
Mine has been over time. Mentors, organizations I've been a part of. So Latasha DeVoe, she's one of my closest confidants when it comes to business. She was with BET and the president of Black Public Relations Society when I joined, and she's just been a trusted source. On top of the fact that now she also asks me questions about things that she's not always astute with, right? Ray, he's steeped in business and tech, has taken companies public before. So he has a level of business knowledge that I don't have. So when I feel like I'm missing something, lay it all out. He might talk to me crazy until I figure out what I'm missing, but it works. Okay, it works. And then I have people in education. One of my best friends is in higher education. She's been doing this for a long time. So sometimes I'm talking through things, and I might miss like the human aspect of it. Or sometimes the people across from me that are trying to close the deal, they're not as astute. So then I can also act not just as a business partner or business peer, but someone that doesn't gatekeep and can help them with information. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
it really comes from authentic connections. It comes from experience and also their track record. I'm not going to ask you, and you filed bankruptcy 4 times. How we elected someone that has done it as many
Right,
times as we have, I have
right.
no idea. But their record matters. How you deal with people, your record, your brand, your personal brand, what you stand for.
Absolutely.
You be robbing people. You got 5 figure discounts. You want to spend it,
This,
spend it. I'm not asking you because I want to stay out of jail too. You know what I'm saying?
this.
Like we can kick it, we can have a margarita, but I'm not asking you nothing
Yeah,
for
man.
business because I ain't doing that. So
Um,
no, honestly, it really, it's a diverse set of people that I trust and that also have a track record and
mm,
understand my blind spots. So yeah.
I like that.
And yourself, at this point, I know you're not doing it all by yourself. You're huge on, your network and relationships. Well, who's surrounding you that you trust that help you make decisions?
And there's a lot of OGs in this business.
Oh,
You know,
geez.
OGs in this business.
Gangsters. All right.
Be willing, being honest, number one, it's like, hey, I don't know everything. Once you settle that in yourself, you don't mind having a conversation with someone that's been where you're trying to go, that you're going. Usually, when you have that transparency, I'm not intimidated about no conversation. You cannot belittle me or anything because I am sure of what Ontavius McCullough can do. right? If I wasn't sure, then yes, I would be intimidated walking past other producers, other well-known commentators. I'll tell you a cool story. I was in the bubble doing production, and you know, I didn't know anybody really. Everybody just came together and made this thing happen. There's a voice that I grew up hearing in the 90s watching Michael Jordan, watching the
Mm.
Chicago Bulls, right? The announcer. Like that voice is very, when you hear that on Space Jam and all that, right? I heard that same voice sitting right next to me when I was doing a production in the bubble. When I tell you the hairs on my arm stood up, and I looked as apparel, and he had Chicago Bulls. I said, no way. This cannot be happening to me. And I felt like I was trying to be professional. You know, I'm doing my work, but during halftime or whatever, I was like, hey, are you? And he looked at me, he was like, yes. And him and I, we're stuck in a bubble, so him and I, we were kicking it. I'm not going to name drop. I don't want to do that to him. Became really good friends, follow each other on social media. We exchanged contacts. He texted me for holidays. I check in on him. But he actually gave me his script of this, like his mind. He gave me a script for a game and signed
Mm.
and autographed it. I actually used that for my production team. No one knows that. I'm just divulging that today. But that script came from someone else that's been doing it, right? So to take someone else's, proof of concept and be able to change it and work it to make it fit for what I need, those relationships matter. But those are, when in this industry, you come across phenomenal people, phenomenal minds, phenomenal voices, and you have to be confident to say, I belong here. I belong at this table just like you, and in that, it's been fun. It's been
I love
fun.
that.
Have I failed? Absolutely. Do I know it all? No, I don't. And not being afraid, you said this earlier, to ask.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something then. I'm going to this next spring season, I'm going to be calling games for Cal State Fullerton's softball team, and I ain't never been in the booth before, but I'm gonna run my mouth. So, give me some advice because this is the first time I've been able to do play by play for a sport that I love. But I don't know what I'm gonna say on that, Mike. I gotta practice. But give me some advice because I don't want to embarrass my family.
You get uh, the best advice I can give you is for the people that are watching, people that are listening, bring them into the game.
Hmm.
Bring them into the experience. Number one, do that well. Talk about what you know. Don't try to make up something. Don't, because the people who love the sport also will pick up on it. Talk about what you know. Rely on your partner, your color person to pick up the slack, right?
Okay. Okay.
Softball is very unique. You don't have to overtalk. Let the play develop. Let it happen. And then capitalize on a great play. Oh,
Okay.
what a
Okay.
catch! Let it develop. It's storytelling. Storytelling. I used to be a big fan of wrestling
Oh
back in
God. So is Ray still is.
you know that storytelling back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s was something, right? So like that was a skill for those commentators to be able to paint a picture of what's about to happen next, to paint a whole scene. So I think you have the same opportunity also, Tonya, to be able to, hey, look at this, she's switch hitter, she's, just paint the picture, how she walks up to the plate. You can just paint a picture and let the play develop and let everything take care of itself. But softball, such a fun sport to watch. You really don't have to say much. You really don't have to say much. So you'll do well. I
Yeah,
know
I'm
you'll do
excited.
well.
Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah. Talk about what you know.
Okay,
Let
not
the
what I
play
don't.
let the play develop, and don't overtalk. You'll be fine.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna have to report back. We might have to do this again.
Listen, I'll be watching. Send us a
All right.
link.
For sure. For sure. Yes. Okay. So last question. If you could go back, because I need to hear this from you and everybody that's out there trying to either thinking about entrepreneurship, trying to run their business, in the middle of it. I want you to help me with this. If you could go back and tell the version of yourself who was just getting started one thing about controlling the narrative of their own career, what would it be?
It's loaded, boy. You can't, as exciting as it is to start an entrepreneur pursuit, that's actually a very vulnerable and delicate stage in your life because words matter. You're fragile, you're unsure of some things. So I would say you can't share your vision and your dream with everybody because their words can discourage you from pursuing what you see. There were moments in my life where I was just so excited and I was just running my mouth, running my mouth, running my mouth. And some people that I told actually discouraged me.
Yeah.
And they put their limitations, their insufficiencies on me, projected it on me. And that bothered me. That gave me some and stuff like that. Everybody doesn't have your best intention. That's unfortunate, and a lot of people don't want to see you win. We don't talk about that, but a lot of people don't want to see you win, right? As long as you're in the same pot as them, we cool. But once they see you climbing and reaching, going over that pot, and they try to yank you down. So I would say, you know, be careful who you share your dreams and your visions with because they can kill them. You know, keep your head down, work the business, and we don't really say this enough, but the support that you think you that's going to come from, that's not going to be the source. My homies, my whatever, they won't ever change, right? But I don't expect them to come to sporting events. I don't expect them to be a sponsor. I don't expect that from them, right? I expect a different type of support from them, you know. But sometimes we can confuse getting those likes and shares. You know, we want to see that a lot. We're driven by that. But a lot of people watch in silence and they're just watching you. And when the time is right, then they'll connect with you. So a lot of my support that I have comes from unexpected communities,
Mm.
So, don't have tunnel vision, you know, um, when you're out there hustling and bustling and doing your entrepreneurial pursuit. But I would say keep it close to your chest, keep the vision, keep the dreams close to your chest, and let your work speak for you.
Yeah.
Let your work
I like
speak for
that.
you. Yeah.
It's great advice, actually. It's great advice. Let the people know how they can get in touch with you, how they can, support you, how they can be a part of growing this amazing company. Let the people know all the good stuff, sir. Let them know.
Listen, we're home base is in Florida, but we'll go anywhere. Our platform is not limited to Florida. We're looking for sports broadcasters, people that have their own podcasts. We'd love to host you on our platform, Varsity Sports Nation. Right now, we're on over 9 devices Roku, Apple TV, Samsung, anything, mobile device, connect with us. You can send us an email, varsitysportsnation@gmail.com. Follow us on all socials. I'm not hard to find. So if you're looking for an internship or anything like that, or if you have a show that you think will be a great fit for our platform, we'd love to host you. Um, yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. Simple, simple.
Quick question. Now that you said that, do interns have to be in Florida or can interns be anywhere?
Interns can be anywhere. You
Okay.
know, we can create Google Drives, all that stuff. You know, you can do commentary virtually.
Yes, I do.
You can be in LA and I have a production here in Florida and I can patch you in. You can be right there at your desk, you know, in real time calling the play. So there's a lot of cool capabilities that we now have thanks to technology that makes it easier for people
Hmm.
to get plugged in. So there's really no excuse. I don't hear no excuse. You know, hey, I wish I should have, coulda. Listen, we're a revolving door. We're helping the next person up. You know, if that's you, hit us up, varsitysportsnation.com. Send us a message. Let's see how we get you plugged in.
Awesome. Well, look, that's the conversation right there. Mr. Ontavius McCullough is
Yes.
proof, okay? Is proof that you don't need permission to build something powerful, to build something authentic. You need a vision, you need resilience, you need to stop waiting for somebody else to tell your story. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe right now, drop a comment because I read all of them and I want him to know what you think too. Tell us what's on your mind. Ask us the questions and we'll get back to you. What's the hardest lesson entrepreneurship has taught you? I want to hear from you guys. And if you want the deep dive, because you know I got it, I want you to head over to Substack, Control the Narrative, because I have some more things to say about this young man that we didn't get a chance to cover today, but read it. I promise you'll like it. So, yeah, hop on over there for the full breakdown. Control the narrative, control the mic, control the camera, and control the room. Tanya is my name, and controlling the narrative is my game. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.